Vice President JD Vance just confirmed what Russia feared most, and the Kremlin is scrambling. In a Fox News interview that aired just hours ago, Vance revealed that the Trump administration is seriously considering giving Ukraine access to one of America's most devastating weapons, a missile so powerful it can reach Moscow from Kiev. Russia's response? Panic. But here's what no one is talking about. This weapon deal could change everything about this war, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why Putin is losing sleep tonight. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will blow your mind. On September 28, 2025, Vice President JD Vance appeared on Fox News Sunday. The interviewer asked him a direct question: is the United States considering sending Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine? Now, most politicians would dodge this. They give you the classic, "we're evaluating all options" nonsense. But Vance, he looked straight into the camera and said, quote, "We're certainly looking at a number of requests from the Europeans. It's something the president's going to make the final determination on." Translation: Trump is seriously considering it. But here's where it gets crazy. The Tomahawk cruise missile isn't just any weapon. We're talking about a missile with a range of 1,550 miles. That's 2,500 kilometers. To put that in perspective, the distance from Kyiv to Moscow? About 528 miles. This weapon could reach deep into Russia, hitting military bases, command centers, logistics hubs, and yes, even the Kremlin itself. Russia knows this, and they're terrified. But how did we get here? What happened behind closed doors? According to multiple sources, including Axios and The Telegraph, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy made a bold move during the United Nations General Assembly last week in New York. He met with President Trump on September 23rd, and during that meeting, Zelenskyy made a request that would make military analysts' jaws drop. He asked Trump for Tomahawk missiles. Now, this isn't the first time Zelenskyy has asked for these weapons. He made the same request to the Biden administration earlier in the war. You know what Biden said? No. Biden was worried about escalation, worried about provoking Russia, worried about World War III scenarios. But Trump is playing a different game entirely. On September 23rd, right after meeting Zelenskyy, Trump posted on Truth Social, and I quote, "Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. Win all of Ukraine back." That's not the language of someone preparing for a negotiated settlement. That's the language of someone preparing Ukraine for victory. And just 2 days ago, Trump called Russia a paper tiger for failing to win a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week. Trump is done playing nice with Putin. So how did Russia react? On Monday, September 30th, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov held a press conference. And what he said reveals just how panicked Moscow really is. Peskov said, and this is a direct quote, "Moscow has heard Washington's statements about possible Tomahawk deliveries to Ukraine and is carefully analyzing them. It is important to understand who will be directing and launching the Tomahawk missiles from Ukrainian territory, the Americans or the Ukrainians themselves." Read between the lines here. Peskov is trying to claim that if Tomahawks hit Russia, it's not Ukraine attacking Russia, it's America attacking Russia. He's laying the groundwork for a narrative where Russia can claim direct U.S. involvement in the war. It's a propaganda move, but it's also a sign of desperation.
Then on October 2nd, Russia issued another statement saying these deliveries would trigger a new round of dangerous escalation between Russia and the West. Dangerous escalation. That's Kremlin code for we're scared and we don't know how to respond.
But then something insane happened. Just as the world was debating whether Trump would actually give Ukraine these missiles, Trump himself came out and said something that shocked everyone. On October 22nd, just yesterday, Trump held a meeting with Zelenskyy at the White House. And according to two sources who were briefed on that meeting and spoke to Axios, it was rough. One source said the meeting, quote, was not easy. The other source, they just said it was bad. What happened in that room? According to multiple reports from Axios, CNN, and the Washington Times, Trump told Zelenskyy flat out, no Tomahawks, at least not now. Here's the exact quote from Trump during the public portion of the meeting. I think we can resolve this without thinking about Tomahawks. They are very dangerous weapons. It could mean an escalation. Tomahawks are a big deal. Then Trump added something that reveals his true thinking. We need Tomahawks for the United States too. We can't deplete for our country. And here's where it gets even more interesting. CNN reported that just a day earlier, on Trump's phone call with Putin, Putin had warned Trump that sending Tomahawks would, quote, damage the U.S.-Russian relationship and alter the level of U.S. involvement in the war. Did Putin get in Trump's head, or was this Trump's plan all along? Zelenskyy came to Washington with one priority: get commitments on weapons. He even offered Trump a trade: Ukraine's advanced drones in exchange for Tomahawks. Trump's response? Thanks for the drones, no Tomahawks. In the press briefing after the meeting, Zelenskyy was asked if he's optimistic about getting the missiles. His answer? Quote, I'm realistic. Translation, it's not happening. European leaders immediately held an emergency virtual meeting after Zelenskyy briefed them. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer proposed drafting a peace plan similar to Trump's Gaza ceasefire. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte called for urgent weekend meetings between European national security advisors. Everyone is scrambling because Trump just pulled the rug out from under Ukraine's entire military strategy. Now, while the media is treating this like Trump just changed his mind, let me tell you something the mainstream press isn't reporting. This was never going to happen, and the Pentagon knew it all along. Here's why. Reuters broke a story on October 2nd that Pentagon insiders and defense analysts are calling this plan not viable. Why? Problem number one, we don't have enough missiles. According to Pentagon budget documents, the U.S. Navy has purchased a total of 8,959 Tomahawk missiles since the 1980s at an average cost of $1.3 million each. That's a stockpile of under 9,000 missiles total. And remember, the U.S. military has already fired several hundred of these at the Houthis in the Red Sea over the past year. Current production, only 55 to 90 missiles per year. The Pentagon plans to buy just 57 missiles in 2026. If Ukraine needs, let's say, 500 Tomahawks to make a strategic difference, that's almost a year of total U.S. production. The Navy isn't going to give up its primary strike weapon for Ukraine. Problem number two, Ukraine can't even launch them. Here's something most media isn't telling you. Tomahawk missiles are launched from ships and submarines, specifically the Navy's Arleigh Burke destroyers and Virginia-class submarines. Ukraine has no ships capable of launching Tomahawks. None. The only land-based system? The Typhon battery, a massive experimental launcher that requires a C-17 cargo plane to transport.
It's the size of a tractor trailer. It's visible from space. Russian satellites would spot it immediately. A U.S. official told Reuters it would not survive long on the battlefield. Problem number 3. It takes 2 years to build one missile. Even if we wanted to ramp up production, Tomahawks are incredibly complex weapons. They use terrain-following radar, GPS guidance, and can fly at treetop level to avoid detection. You can't just make more quickly.
So if this plan is so problematic, why is Trump considering it? Here's what I think is really happening, and this is where it gets fascinating. Trump isn't necessarily planning to give Ukraine Tomahawks. He's using the threat of Tomahawks as leverage against Putin. Think about it. For 8 months, Trump has been trying to get Russia to the negotiating table. Putin keeps saying no. Russia refuses bilateral meetings. Russia refuses trilateral meetings with U.S. mediators. As JD Vance said on Fox News, the Russians have refused to sit down with any bilateral meetings with the Ukrainians. They've refused to sit down with any trilateral meetings where the president or some other member of the administration could sit down with the Russians and the Ukrainians. So, what does Trump do? He floats the idea of giving Ukraine the most devastating weapon in the U.S. arsenal. Suddenly, Putin has to calculate. If I don't negotiate, Trump might actually give them these missiles. And if that happens, my entire military infrastructure becomes a target. It's classic Trump negotiation. Create uncertainty, raise the stakes. Make the other side fear what happens if they don't deal. But here's the genius part, and pay attention because this is critical. Vance specifically mentioned that under Trump's new policy, the U.S. doesn't give weapons to Ukraine. European countries buy the weapons from the U.S. and then give them to Ukraine. Vance said, "What we're doing is asking the Europeans to buy that weaponry. That shows some European skin in the game. I think that gets them really invested in both what's happening in their own backyard, but also in the peace process." So, Trump can tell Putin, "Look, it's not my decision. The Europeans are buying these. If you want this to stop, you need to come to the table." It's brilliant political triangulation. And now, after yesterday's meeting, we have proof this was the strategy all along. Trump used the threat of Tomahawks to get Putin on the phone. He used it to pressure Putin into agreeing to a summit in Budapest. And once he had that commitment, he pulled back. It's classic Trump. Create maximum pressure, get what you want, then de-escalate. But here's the thing that's absolutely fascinating. Trump hasn't completely ruled out Tomahawks. During the meeting, he said they could be useful as leverage to get Putin to negotiate. CNN reported that Trump did not take the possibility off the table, and that plans to provide the weapons have already been drawn up, quote, in case Trump gives the order, which he can do at any time. So the threat still exists. It's just on hold for now. Trump is keeping Putin guessing, and that is the entire point. But here's the plot twist that's getting zero coverage. While Trump and Vance are talking tough about arming Ukraine, the U.S. government just shut down on October 1st. And that shutdown is creating absolute chaos for Ukraine support. According to The Telegraph, the government shutdown has stalled weapons deliveries to Ukraine. Meetings between Ukrainian officials and Pentagon, State Department, and White House counterparts canceled. ABC News reported that military families are facing food insecurity because of the shutdown. On October 9th, a military mom literally begged House Speaker Mike Johnson on C-SPAN to pass a standalone bill to pay troops during the shutdown. Get this,
Democrats blocked that bill. While politicians talk about supporting Ukraine and supporting our troops, actual soldiers aren't getting paid. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth gave a speech on October 1st, promising to change military fitness standards and rules of engagement. But with the shutdown, those reforms are frozen.
Here's the insane reality. Trump's administration is considering giving Ukraine missiles that cost $1.3 million each, while American service members can't feed their families because Congress can't pass a budget. And that's the story mainstream media won't tell you.
So what happens now? After yesterday's bombshell meeting, let me give you 4 possible scenarios. Scenario 1. The bluff worked. Trump's Tomahawk threat forced Putin to finally agree to negotiations. The Budapest summit happens in the next 2 weeks. A peace deal gets done. Ukraine doesn't get Tomahawks because there's a ceasefire, and they don't need them. Probability? 35%. This is what Trump is betting on. Scenario 2. Trump caves to Zelenskyy. Zelenskyy goes back to Europe. European leaders put massive pressure on Trump, and within 2 to 3 weeks, Trump announces a limited transfer of 50 to 100 missiles through European purchases. It's enough to keep Ukraine in the fight without depleting U.S. stocks. Probability? 25%.
Scenario 3. The Budapest summit fails. Trump meets Putin in Budapest. Putin refuses to compromise. Trump gets frustrated and says, "Fine, you want to play hardball? Here are your Tomahawks, Ukraine." Missiles start flowing within weeks. Probability? 20%. Scenario 4. Status quo continues. Budapest summit gets postponed or canceled. No Tomahawks materialize. The war continues as a grinding attrition conflict through winter. Everyone loses except defense contractors. Probability? 20%. My prediction? We're looking at scenario 1 or scenario 3. Trump doesn't do middle ground. Either his negotiation strategy works and we get peace, or it fails spectacularly and he goes all in on arming Ukraine to prove Putin wrong.
The next 2-3 weeks will tell us everything. Watch for these signals. Whether the Budapest summit actually happens, Hungary already confirmed, but Russia could back out. Trump's social media posts about Putin, if he starts attacking Putin personally, scenario 3 is coming. And European weapons announcements. If France or UK suddenly announce long-range missiles for Ukraine, that's Trump giving the green light through proxies. And Putin? He just won round 1 of this negotiation, but Trump hates losing. So Putin better hope this summit produces results, because Trump's next move could be devastating.
So there you have it. JD Vance's statement wasn't just a comment. It was a calculated signal. To Ukraine, help is coming. To Europe, step up and pay. To Russia, come to the table or face the consequences. The next few weeks will determine if this war enters a new phase, or if we finally see the beginning of the end. One thing's certain, Putin is watching, Zelenskyy is waiting, and Trump is playing the highest stakes poker game on the planet. If you found this analysis valuable, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. I'm tracking this story daily, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Drop a comment. Do you think Trump will actually give Ukraine these missiles, or is this all a negotiating tactic? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.